Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the Fail to Fail podcast with your host, Don Abernathy.
What's going on, everybody? It's another episode of the Failed to Fail podcast, the motivational podcast here at the Digital 410 Network. Thank you guys for joining us again for another episode. Tonight, I am very excited to present to you this gentleman. Some of you may have seen him on American Ninja Warrior once or twice. If you're from Southwest Florida, you may be familiar with him as well. His name is Jordan Flash Brown. Jordan, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm good, Don. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us in the crazy times that we're living in, 2020, the Halloween season, and all the craziness with the election going on. How have you been?
Yes. I've been doing good. I've been working as a substitute teacher during this time at a high school, and I also have been just doing my photography, and also I've been maintaining a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend who's in Australia, and also training for Ninja Warrior, so trying to do all these things, just trying to have that balance and stuff, and prepare for the next season.
Definitely staying busy. Let's just get a little background history on you for our listeners here. I know you're from Miami. Were you born in Miami, and what year?
Oh yeah, I was born in Miami, Florida, in February 13th, 1993. Yeah.
And what was life like in Miami back then? Well, I say back then, I was in middle school at the time, but what was Miami like in 1993?
I think it was really cool because back in the 93, from it was mostly basketball. Like when I was born, during the years of 1993 to 1998, it was all about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and stuff. And my dad actually named me after him.
Sure.
Where that's where Jordan came from, because I guess he was such a popular athlete as well, since the Bulls were dominating, and so he liked watching them. And then I was named after him.
Well, not only was he dominating basketball, but he was the one that brought Nike to the forefront when it came to basketball apparel. I mean, prior to him, Nike was kind of a running shoe for a while, and they were here and there. But as far as being the powerhouse, dominant, apparel company in basketball, and later on in just pop culture itself, I mean, as someone who was living and growing up in the 90s, Jordan shoes were where it was at. I never owned a pair, but I remember seeing all the kids who had the means to own Jordans and all the different eras of Jordans. And then you had the Robinsons with the first Reebok pump. The Robinsons came out, and just that was kind of the beginning of the whole apparel war going on in sports. And it all started with Jordan, and when he came out of North Carolina with his blue and white Nikes at the beginning.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that I remember Converse was the main basketball shoe, but then once Jordan took over with Nike, it's Nike and Reebok just becoming a thing, and then Nike just took over all of it. And
Nike took over to the fact that if you wear Converse shoes other than Chuck Taylor's, you're gonna get laughed off the court. I mean, as far as quality foot apparel goes, at least in pop culture and popularity wise, if you unless you got a pair of throwback LA Laker Converse from back in the day, you showed a pair of Converse, you're getting laughed off the court or anywhere for that matter. Interesting fact, living here in Southwest Florida, Chuck Taylor was actually a salesman. He was not a basketball player. He was a salesman, and he was heavily into college basketball, and he had a lot of ends with a lot of the coaches, and he kind of was the one who got a lot of college basketball teams in the 50s to sign up and go strictly Converse, because it was between Converse and PF Flyers at the time. And the reason
yes, I remember I heard of PF Flyers from that movie Sandlot.
Yep. And the reason I say Southwest Florida is Chuck Taylor is actually buried up in Port Charlotte, and you can go to a website and it'll actually show where his grave marker is. And so a lot of Chuck Taylor All-Star Converse aficionados, they like to travel over to that graveyard and find his tomb. Now, your name's Jordan Flash Brown, and as they said on one of your YouTube videos, Flash is not due to speed or from comic book, but actually photography. What age did you get into photography?
In 2016, but actually, it's not just. I think I have to make a correction on that video, because as I've grown as a follower and a believer in Christ Jesus, I think the flash comes from like being a light, and like how when I first started doing ninja, my colors were black and yellow because the black represented like kind of like the mistakes and and my like the mistakes that I made and like the darkness and whatnot, and the yellow was just me just striving to overcome that and be a light during those beginning years. But um, during COVID, I've definitely changed the colors to it being brighter, as in red and yellow,
Sure.
and soon to be white and yellow, because like I've definitely it shows maturity on my part as a believer, and also as a follower, that I'm not like kind of like in between, but mostly just trying to be a person that is trying to do good and trying to serve the community and serve my talents with through either ninja or through photography to others. And that's just what I want to do. It's not about what I can gain, or it's not about me hitting budget for my own personal glory. But everything that I do, I want it to be about just serving others and being able to help others.
And that's a fantastic mission statement. And by the way, your photography, I was looking through your Facebook tonight and your Instagram. You got some fantastic photos, and a lot of that stuff, you're in it yourself, and so you're setting up yourself as the model, but the lighting's great, the position of the camera's fantastic, and it's beautiful work. And I'm going to show my age. I actually took 8 semesters of photography class in high school, but it was so long ago we actually learned how to develop black and white film, which is long dead since science. But do you use like a LCR digital camera, or you just primarily use your phone?
So the crazy part is like the camera that I use is a Canon T6i Rebel. It is the basic of the basic ones. Right now I'm currently trying to save up money to get a better camera, because since I've been working at the high school, I want the kids to be able to have great pictures. And since I'm doing sports, it's really hard to take those kind of shots with my basic camera, because I don't have the shutter speed that can keep up with the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saving money right now to be able to invest in the newest version of the sports photography camera, so I can be able to have it. And it's a lot more expensive, but I know that in time and with being patient, it'll come. So just being patient and just working towards it right now.
Yeah, the hard thing about that though is you set up, you invest, you do the research, and you get the camera, and much like a car or a computer, the technology changes so quickly that within a year or two, the chat, obviously the lenses themselves are interchangeable, but the memory speed and the camera itself, they become so quickly outdated that it's kind of why I'm an IT guy. I've been running an IT firm since 2004, but when it comes to video games, people are surprised to find out I play Xbox, and that's kind of the reason. It seemed like now technology is catching up, but for the longest time, it was like every time a new game came out, you had to go out and drop a bunch of money on a new video card, plus the game, plus RAM. And so just to play that one particular game, it got so expensive to have to consistently buy new components that I found it was just easier and less frustrating just to buy a console, so that all I had to do was buy the game, and every 5 years buy a new console instead of buying a new video card and RAM all the time. But how did you get into the ninja thing, and what is the official title for that sport? Obviously, American Ninja Warrior was based off of Ninja Warrior coming out of Japan, and American Ninja Warrior is copywritten. But do you guys refer to it just as ninja-ing, or what is the official name for that sport?
I would say the word will be ninja. So for me, how I got into it, my backstory was my first love of sport was basketball.
Okay.
So I came to FGCU in the college in 2011. So I tried from 2011 to 2014 on trying to walk on to the basketball team, and I had no success. And I always the first year didn't have any tryouts. So that's 2013 and 2014. I think it was those 2 years I tried to walk on, but I didn't make it. I wasn't able to make it. So then it was when I was like kind of feeling I was just really down, and I kind of was asking myself and asking her like, what can I do to be able to help others and inspire others? And then I saw Ninja Warrior on TV in the summer. Yeah, I would say it was in the summer of 2015, I think it was. And then that's when I saw it. Sorry, not summer. I would say maybe the springtime of 2015. And I saw it, and I told myself that I wanted to do that. And then that year from 2015 to 2016, I was just like trying to do whatever kind of training I could. I had no idea about the sport. Until I met a guy named Jeff Harvey, who invited me to his barn. I would say like his garage, and like it definitely was a wake up call for like, man, like I needed to get strong at the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just trained with him whenever he invited me. And then my first year of competing on the show was in 2016 in Atlanta, Georgia, which I had fallen on the second obstacle. So I did the walk line. How I got into that was I did the walk line. I came out to Atlanta I waited for like 2.5 weeks, and I met a great bunch of guys. But I think the walk line was very fun, meeting friends and meeting guys. And so then that night it was definitely surreal. Like people that I saw on TV and then actually competing there, definitely very nerve wracking. I think I would say I think my nerves got the best of me. But it was definitely a great experience because it was a learning experience as well too. And then the next year after that, it was in Daytona, and I was able to train harder, and I did get better. Like when it came down to competition wise, I made it past the second obstacle, but I fell on the third obstacle, which was the wing nuts. So that was really great. And then the third year of competing in Miami, I trained hard again, and this year it was kind of my best year. I made it to the fifth obstacle. And even though I found the fifth obstacle, I did run up to advance to city finals. So it was my first time advancing to city finals. And what was special about that year was because it was in Miami. So my parents were able to see me for the first time ever compete. And I was also the first runner to have to do the course. Because since for the walk line, I was number one on the walk line. So I was the first runner to like have to do the course. And like, it was very nerve wracking. But how I prepared for that was just I meditated and I visualized in the weeks leading up to that. I knew that I was going to be first, and also during that time the Avengers Infinity War was like coming out, so that also was kind of like a hype up in itself because it was really nice, like seeing promos for that, and it was really hyped me up. So I wanted to do well, and I love movies, so like I always like watch movies for inspiration, and also reading scripture as well too, like reading the Bible. But being able to watch stuff is really cool. I'm like a visual learner because that's what when it comes to photography. I love like visual things, like being able to like see things or take pictures of things. Like my photography was mostly kind of inspired by movie posters. Like,
sure,
when I see superheroes like in their poses, like man, like I want to recreate that kind of stuff in like a real world type of setting, like for people or for athletes or for couples. Like when I see the movie posters, like man, I want to be able to take those shots. So that's what inspired me to be a photographer from all the movies that I watched and stuff.
The interesting thing about the ninja thing, obviously you got to be in great physical fitness. You got to have tremendous grip strength, upper body. But the thing about the whole ninja thing is kind of like you said, you met somebody who was into it. You got invited over. It's almost like a private club. And what I mean by that is people don't realize, and I didn't either until, I got to researching Morgan and yourself, and Morgan's nice enough to allow me to come practice on his equipment. I have no delusions of grandeur that I'm ever going to be on American Ninja Warrior, but I'm going to run my second Savage race next weekend. The first time I did it,
nice.
I completed 25 of the 28 obstacles, but what it got me, sawtooth at the end, and a lot of the monkey bar based stuff. My grip strength wasn't there. I'm 6'5", which is a huge hindrance. I've watched enough American Ninja Warrior to know anybody over 6 foot tall, you're gonna have a hard time just because a lot of that stuff's low to the ground. Morgan's gym's pretty low. Sometimes I hit my feet, but I go there primarily to practice on my grip strength, and I still can't do a pull up. I don't know how you do a salmon ladder. I watched a video of you earlier doing like a 40-foot salmon ladder, which is insane. But back to the point is, people don't realize, and myself included, is there are regional ninja challenges and events going on, and I watched you do a 100-foot rope climb today, which I gotta have Morgan show me the proper way to use my feet. Now I see a lot of hardcore guys do it with just their upper bodies. Now obviously you're doing 100-foot when you're not going to do that strictly upper body. There's no way, you'll get burnt out, but clearly there's a proper way to use your feet on those ropes to support your body weight when you're resting your arms. But what I noticed was a lot of these regional events, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the obstacles look far more difficult than what you see on American Ninja Warrior. And
they definitely are.
And from talking to Morgan Moose, he was telling me that one of the things that makes Ninja Warrior difficult, one, obviously you have the adrenaline, you got the spotlight, you got the crowd and the TV cameras, but for me, what I would think would be affecting you physically more is the fact that you don't know when you're going to go. He said sometimes you'll run at 10 p.m., sometimes you're running at 3:30 in the morning. And is that why you see a lot of guys fail on what would for the casual viewer sitting at home, you're like, that's such an easy obstacle. It's the third obstacle in. Is that part of why sometimes they trip up on some of the quote unquote easier stuff? Whereas you watch them on YouTube and they're doing stuff that's far more like, I was watching a thing where you took off your shoes, you're going down like this pole climb with a weighted piece of plywood on your shoulders, and you got to transition and then climb back up. And I've never seen anything that appears to be that quite difficult in American Ninja Warrior. Is that why Ninja Warrior, it seems like sometimes guys will fail on what appears to be a easy obstacle?
I think you're definitely right on that part. But I also think too that since Ninja Warrior doesn't really have like the people who they call back, some of them are also ninjas. They're just people who just see the show and they want to fight and they've never done it before. So Ninja Warrior is like they're literally like their first taste of like, oh, this is a ninja, and then them being on the show kind of is what gets them into the show, because like you said, it kind of feels like its own little club. So those who apply and never done it before, they go on to it for the first time and they do it, and then that's how they meet people. Which kind of for some people they actually do well. For others, it's a wake up call. Like, wow, I actually need to train for this. I can't just I can't just do my normal bench pressing or doing squats and whatnot. It's a different type of training that you have to do to apply yourself. But I also think it's a mixture of the new people and also the time of like you being called to run the course differently as well, to cause people to fall on the third or second obstacle.
Yeah, I was thinking you said that you ran first, and the disadvantage to that is, and if you watch enough American Ninja Warrior, you'll see the first couple people, they'll hit an obstacle a certain way, some of them will fall, some will make it through, and then like the fourth or fifth person will do it a completely different way, in which changes the whole thing. Oh, if you hold your arms that way, or if you pull your upper body that way while making that transition, it changes the whole game. And then everybody following that person will do the same thing, and all of a sudden that particular obstacle is conquered, whereas the first person, they don't have the benefit of watching 4 or 5 other people sort out the trick to it, especially on a new one.
Yes, and I remember for Miami, like my thing was like I looked at the course to the previews, and I was like, okay, like I can do this. And I think what also helped too is that before that one, so being in Miami, the good thing about being in the walk-on line was because I had friends that we were like, kind of like we would go to the course like maybe like a weekend before, we would see what they were setting up, so we would kind of replicate that in the gym. So that also kind of helped as well too, like being able to see the course from a distance, and we kind of had an idea of what the obstacle, what we had to do for the obstacle. So we would just replicate that in our course runs. We would go to the gym in Miami and we would just replicate it in the course runs, which helped as well too. And then we also kind of did a guessing. Okay, so we saw the obstacle in that city. What do you think would be in Miami? So we just did like practices and stuff. But it definitely did help, especially with the balance one, because we guessed that one right. And then also the second obstacle in Miami definitely was guessed right. The only thing that kind of was different was the ring hop, was the ring one where you had to, I think it was the fourth obstacle which was the ring one, and then the
is that the ring hop where you're on one little hook and you gotta swing across to make the transition to the other one?
No, not that one. You had to like rotate a ring. It had to click before you can go to the other ring.
Oh, okay.
Like, you had to move it up. And then the fifth one, I forgot what it was called. I think it was something where you had to like hop something over. That's where I fell, because I remember I fell because I don't know if it was because I think I felt pumped, but I also got distracted because I saw my friend in the crowd, and I was really excited because it was my first time making the obstacle, so I was really excited. And then I fell, then I had to like fallen. But it was definitely Miami being my best time, and I love that, like, being the growth as well too, falling from the second to then third, and then making it to the fifth to the city finals was really amazing.
One of the things I'm struggling with right now, and I was really hoping to cut about 10 pounds before this race. I'm 6'5". My walking around weight right now is 219. I run about 3 to 4 nights a week, usually anywhere between 3 to 5 miles. Sometimes I'll get a wild hair and I'll run 10. But coming up to an event, I'm sure a lot of people do this too, I throttle back to prevent the potential for injury or aches and pains on the day of my event, especially something like a Savage race. Even though this is a makeup, I was supposed to do it in March and it got canceled due to COVID. So technically I already paid for it. So this one is a makeup. But still, it's a huge investment. And back when I lost my weight, I'm down about 40 pounds. How I got there is I ended up passing 2 kidney stones. That was a huge wake-up call for me. I changed my diet, got rid of all the soda. Yeah. I was on strictly off soda. I was on water and all that stuff up until Hurricane Irma. No power, no water for 18 days. and you're down here. You remember that. Water was hard to find, so if I did find water, it was being used to feed my cats and the dogs. So now I'm back on. I'm be honest with you, I drink about maybe 2 sodas a day, but my weight's not where it was. I was up to 249, but like I said, I'm down to 220, 219. I was hoping to get down to 207. Last time I was down to 207 was when I ran 100 miles in 1 month, so I cut a lot of weight. But
Yeah.
what is your weekly diet like right now?
The thing is, my diet is, I'm working on it as we speak, because like I'm working and being in a relationship. I eat good. Well, so for when it comes to breakfast, I eat good. When it comes to like lunch, I eat good. But this is my break week, so I haven't been eating well. But usually my game plan for what I'm eating is like I eat like, say, like just an egg sandwich, or like 3 eggs on a low carb bread. And then for lunch, I would eat like a taco meat that I've cooked with on a low carb wrap. And
Sure.
then I would and for dinner I would make a burger, and I'll have it on a low carb bread as well too.
Obviously,
I kind of just eat meat, like a lot of protein, and then with low carbs.
yeah. Carbs, how I pretty much handle is I know at night I really can't affect the people I live with, my fiance and my daughter's diet. So during the day when I'm by myself, I really try to control it. A lot of times I'll just go to Publix, get some Sausalito turkey and cheese and eat that with a fork. And then when we, at home, we cook dinner instead of getting fast food. Now I know, Christianity and Jesus plays a huge role in your life. When did that start for you, and how is that to maintain that honor and that sincerity and that honesty in 2020 and with the way things are going? I mean, let's be honest. There is kind of a, I don't think being a Christian is the easiest thing to do nowadays, especially with the way pop culture treats it and things like that. So how do you maintain that dedication part of your life?
By always being loving, because I don't want to fight anybody or force anybody my opinions, because I've learned this from being with my girlfriend, because we have debates like when it comes to like Democratic and Republican, even though she also is a Christian, and like she just doesn't like Trump. So even though she's a Christian, and like from my opinion, I think that like the Republican side is definitely like more pro-Christian than like how they and their views and whatnot. Even though their leader may not be good from what people may think and whatnot, but I just try to like we and her, we have these debates. So I'm learning to like, I guess like when it comes to, and especially being African American too, like it's very, not many African Americans would be Republican, because my whole family is Democrats. Even though like how I say it, this is like I always try to be respectful and loving. I remember how in scripture on how like, cause I don't want to like say mumble. I want to pull up the scripture that I've been meditating on. So what I've been like meditating on, and I kind of how I've been trying to also just live my life when it comes to others, was in the scripture in 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, how it says like love is patient and kind, and love does not envy or boast, it is not arrogant or rude, it does not insist on its own way, it is not irritable or resentful, it does not rejoice at wrongdoing but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. That's the main scripture that I've been during this rough time where there's so much division. Is what I've been trying to stand by, and just loving others. And like, even though I may not like, I may not like their views. Like for instance, like as a Christian, I don't support like transgender or like or gays, but I'm not gonna hate those people. Like I don't hate them at all. Like if I was to see them, I'm still gonna I love them. I may not support the lifestyle, but I'm still gonna love them. I'm not gonna bash them, nor am I gonna hate them.
Well, sadly, your audio cut out, but you were talking earlier about how you and your girlfriend, you're both Christian, practicing Christians daily. But even in 2020, despite the fact that both you have more different political views, you guys kind of talk things out, which more and more people should do. That's one of the biggest problems we're facing in this country, is everybody's choosing a tribe and they don't want to talk to the other side. And you were saying something very, very important and very relevant, but sadly the signal cut out. But you were explaining how, despite the fact that your girlfriend finds herself to be more Democratic and liberal, and you find yourself to be on the more Republican side, you guys just talk things out, and you have your own beliefs, but you don't let that distract from what you guys are trying to accomplish as a couple.
Yes, because our foundation and our root is in God. That's one thing I was just telling her, like we always talked about, like even though we have our differences of opinion, we don't force our opinion onto one another. And like we don't say like, oh no, like you're wrong, and like because it used to be like that, but lately we've been working on like we state our opinion and what we believe, but we're not gonna force it. Like we're not gonna say, we refuse to say no, you're wrong. Despite it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong, because everybody has their own opinion. We're still gonna like our foundation is in Christ, and what we stand for. That's the main thing that we know that we both agree on. And when it comes to loving others and how we have to respect one another and our views and stuff.
One of the things that I find even myself that I fight the urge to do, I'll be listening to a podcast and it'll be someone whose show I've listened to a lot, and like, oh, so-and-so's coming up next, and I'm familiar with the guest, and the guest tends to have views that I do not agree with. I'm completely against, and when I hear their name, I kind of cringe. And there's a part of me who just wants to shut off the podcast and not listen. But more often than not, if it's a good interview and if it's an honest interview and it's a long-form interview, I find that the person that I cringed about, the person that I wanted to not listen to the interview, that I realize they're not as bad as I thought they were. The interview is more interesting, and by the way, you learn something. And so I think it's kind of important what you're saying is someone may have different views than you, and you may not agree with them ideologically, but it's very important to hear them out, one, to maintain a civility, but two, if you only listen to your opinions and people who share the exact same opinions as you all the time, then you're essentially living in an echo chamber, and you're depriving yourself from education. Not the education that they may change your mind on something, but maybe the education that, what they said just reinforced why what I believe I feel is more appropriate than what they, and so by whenever you hear something maybe coming up, or a person who may be coming to talk that you may not agree with, by shutting them down or running from that, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Not to mention, that's kind of what a lot of the comedians and storytellers and political personnel have been finding has been happening to them on both sides of the aisles when they go to college campuses over the last few years, and we see how horribly that's turned out for people. And so I think we would all do better as not only a nation but a world and a society together is to be more willing to listen to someone else's opinion. I'm not saying you gotta appreciate it, and I think that's so important.
No, yes, you're totally right. Like when it comes to like listening, because even though you may not be swayed or you may not, but you might never know that somebody actually might, after listening, you might, you know what, maybe something is kind of wrong in what I believe. Even though majority of times you're still gonna stick, but like what it comes down to, it's about serving others. Because by you listening, you are humbling yourself to listen to what they have to say, even though they could be wrong. You are still being in a loving way and being humble about it, because it helps you as a person grow as well too. When in situations when you face opposition, where you don't want to just go straight head first into it, but you don't want to be gentle and kind and loving towards others and towards those who are opposition.
And not only that, but when you just automatically jump on the defense, that just creates hostility, anxiety in your own life. And and I'm sorry, life's too short to hate people. Life's too short to be annoyed by people. We were you kind of talked about it earlier when the phone was cutting out. There's people out there who hate Trump just for the sake of hating him, and there's people who out there who love Trump just for the sake of loving him. The person A, he can never do anything right. Person B, he can never do anything wrong. I'm more in the middle. I'm more like, well, if the guy says something stupid, I'll call him on it. If the guy does something positive, I'll call him on it. But being on either end of that spectrum is just dedicating, and not just, I'm just using him as an example because we're in politics, but with what's going on right now, but just take him out and replace it with subject X, whatever it may be. And if that opinion is so steadfast that it creates hostility, anxiety in either direction, it's like all you're doing is making your life harder, and life's way too short for that. I just want to,
Yes.
enjoy my life while I'm here. And
Mm-hmm.
and the older you get, and as you get older and you experience more loss in life through older family members passing, the more you realize that that's important.
Yes.
And one thing that I
It did.
find impressive about you, and especially with, I mean, you're in your 20s, mid
Yeah, I'm
20s?
27.
So you're 27, you're technically a Generation Z. And one of the things that I find people struggle with, especially in the younger age, as you get older and you get life experience, you tend to change this a little bit. But kind of going back to what you were saying, and when it comes to listening to other people and educating yourself, and I'm sure you do this all the time with the ninja stuff, is I find it's interesting when you've been doing something for so long, or you're around somebody who's been doing something for a long time, and they see somebody who's new to an activity, let's just say ninja, for example, and that person is doing something, and they're doing it with minimum success. They're wasting energy doing certain things the wrong way, and someone who's been doing it a lot longer may say, hey, why don't you try doing it this way? As Morgan told me when I was operating on his equipment, hey, instead of trying to fight it and going all strong arm, move slow as fast as smooth. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times that younger person, like, hey, I know what I'm doing. Mind your own business. It's like, whoa, hey, okay, find out the hard way. I'm trying to help you.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy because I have to admit, I have never encountered anybody who has been so stubborn like that.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of times, people actually do listen. Like they actually do listen, and they try as well too. Like, but
Maybe
yeah,
the ninja
you
was
go.
a bad example because of fitness, but I'm thinking more like in a work environment or something like that. But it definitely behooves you to, if someone around you is older and more experienced in something, whether it's fitness, at work, painting, whatever, if they got some tips for you, why not learn? And I try to explain to my daughter, hey, it took me. I didn't realize these things until I'm 30. I'm trying to provide these secrets to you now in your 20s so that you can fast forward a little bit. You don't have to spend as many years figuring this stuff out. I've already lived through it. Let me teach you the secrets now, so when you get to my age, you're that much more advanced because you didn't have to spend years learning this nonsense and how to do it. Let me instill to you, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes people do have to learn the hard way
That's true too.
as well too. Like I know for me that, like, even though I don't think I am, but I have to admit, like, I think I am. I can be stubborn at times when my girlfriend tells me that I can be stubborn when it comes to things, even though I don't see it. But I guess because I'm just so, like, strong stance when it comes to things. But I'm actually learning it recently to, like, actually, like, if there's any kind of advice, because, like, it's quite crazy because I can give people advice, but when people give me advice, I can be very, like, I'll still go the other way and still do the other way and still have to learn the hard way. But I also need to work on that as well too when it comes to, like, actually listening and doing it, because I think the reason why I'm so used to doing things my own way is because I've lived alone. Ever since I graduated college in 2017, I've been living alone on my own by myself. So I've just been always do things like by myself and stuff. And now when I'm with somebody, it's like, oh, and that's like it's definitely a learning process of being in a relationship, because you have to learn to also listen to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and because they're trying to help you in, because they care about you. You're not on your own doing things by yourself as you used to. Like, you have to know that there's also another person in the relationship. It's not just you by yourself. It's somebody else you have to care about and listen to as well too.
Now, before the show, you were explaining to me your busy schedule. You're training for Ninja Warrior. You got a long distance relate. Did you say your girlfriend's in Australia?
Yeah, I
How does
met
that
her
work?
Yeah, it's very hard.
Was
Been
that a
dating for
missionary
6 months
trip or
now.
something?
Yeah, I met her in May. I met her online through. I haven't met her in person yet, but I met her online through Instagram, actually, because I was on this Christian Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this just a group about, like, people who are just, like, single, and also those who are couples, just always giving advice to one another. So all I do in the group is, like, I would post my pictures and just try to give advice to people. So those who are either single or those who are, like, going through things. So I just try to give advice. So how I met her was, somebody, I guess, saw what I was doing and like appreciated the post I was making. So they forward my, I guess, my profile to her, and she's like, "Hey, this is a nice guy. Like he's always like posting like stuff with pictures and photography." So then she had followed me on Instagram, and then I followed her back, and then we just hit it off there, and then we FaceTime, and then ever since then, I was just interested in her because I liked what she was about, and also how different she was too. Like her being in Australia, I think what really got me in was just her accent. It was just really amazing. It was just really nice to like hear somebody who's different.
Sure.
Because I always thought myself that I was different, so it was nice to just see, and from what she showed me with the pictures and how she speaks and how she is about, and like it's definitely very different. Which it's crazy because like I feel like our relationship is kind of like a Captain America and Iron Man, because we are two different people with two different worlds. But I think when it comes down to the root of it, our root and us being Christians is that's how we can make it work. Because to be honest, if we weren't Christians, I don't think it can be able to work. Because like, there has to be like that one thing that can bring us together, and that's our love for Christ and how we're able to have to compromise and also see each other's views and understand each other and how we think and stuff.
Absolutely. For somebody listening to this podcast, they've been struggling getting motivated. Obviously, no one's going to go out and start ninjing right away, but let's say they're not even wanting the ninjing, but they're just wanting to work on their physical fitness. They're wanting to lose some weight. They're wanting to get into just any sort of regimental program. For the casual person, somebody's working every day or, whatever it may be, if they were to come up to you and say, hey, what's the easiest way to get started on improving myself and my lifestyle and getting healthier? What do you often tell people or suggest? Where does one start?
It's crazy because I had a high school kid, because I've been working at the high school, asked me that same question and how I responded to him, because he asked me, "Oh, how did you get so fit?" I just told him, I just do the basics. It's just starting off with the basics, push-ups, bodyweight type exercises. Like starting off with those first, because that's when I was in middle school. I started off by doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and pull-ups, all those stuff just to tone the body. And then if that doesn't seem to be enough, and like that can be your normal routine of a workout, saying doing it every morning, every afternoon, and every night. That can be a basic workout that works your full body. And if you're doing that every day, it can help you tone up as well too. And of course, by you eating well too, that would also definitely help tremendously. Because then you can be able to get stronger and do more as well too. And when it comes to eating healthy, I would give them the advice of, okay, well, I would give them the advice of what I do. It's like I just eat eggs in the morning, like protein and carbs. And then you add in some of I have my fruits in the morning. And then you can have some of the fruits some of the vegetables in the evening, such as like broccoli and like lettuce and beans.
You don't do the intermittent fasting at all?
Yeah. Huh?
You don't do the intermittent fasting at all?
Oh no! I don't do any fasting. I just eat.
You got that young man's metabolism. Once you hit 30, that thing will slow down. I oftentimes try not to eat anything until about noon. Or 12, and I try to do the intermittent fasting because it seems to me to help maintain weight loss. The other thing I used to do, but I don't do so much now because of my work schedule, and I actually did it a few weeks ago, and it reminded me why I used to do it, and that is as hard as it is and as bad as it sucks, running in the morning or doing your fitness in the morning, by getting that done in the morning, obviously you have more time in the day, but here's the secret. I find, if I run in the morning or do the exercise in the morning, as the day goes, I'm less likely to cheat and eat little things because I say, well, if I eat this, I just wasted the whole reason I got up an hour early and went and worked out. Whereas subconsciously I'm thinking, well, if I can eat this because I'm going to go run 3 miles at 7:30 tonight. And so I find by doing it in the morning, it helps keep you honest throughout the day because you don't want to, because basically you're wasting the reason why you lost an extra hour of sleep that morning because, you're trying to get fit. Whereas subconsciously, I'm working out tonight. It won't matter, but then you're at a net zero gain. So I find sometimes it helps to do that in the morning.
Oh, definitely. I do my workouts in the morning. For me, like working out in the morning is like the best way for me to be able to wake up and do my day. And also because of the time difference for me and my girlfriend who's in Australia, working out in the morning is better, because then once I get out from work, she just wakes up, so I can be able to talk to her and have my time with her as well too, because it's just because of the time difference, and it works perfectly.
You know, it's funny you're talking about the push-ups, and I used to be a lot more into it, and I fell off and I started again. I wear a Garmin fitness watch, and primarily for my running and all that, but every few hours during the day it'll tell me to move. And if I'm at my computer shop waiting on things to happen, and my watch goes off, says move, I'll just slide my chair out and I'll bust out 22 to 24 push-ups right there. Back in December, I decided, hey, I can't do pull-ups, as I said earlier, but I decided, hey, I want to try to do wall-assisted handstand push-ups. And so last December I started. I busted out 2. I got up to like 16, and then I took about a month off, and now I'm stuck around 12. But usually in the daytime, maybe 3 times a week. I used to do it every day, and I need to get back to there depending on, if I'm at my shop or wherever. When my Garmin yells at me to move, if I'm not getting ready to run, I'll either bust out 20 push-ups or I'll try to do my wall-assisted handstand push-ups. I get in trouble for doing them at home because I put marks on the wall, so I got to go out and do it at the garage.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I try to do them in my office. And I'm honest about it. They're wall-assisted, meaning I put my toes on the wall. I don't have the skill yet to do them without the wall. But, I figure if I can't do a pull-up, at least I can do it the other direction. And maybe, who knows, at some point. And I think the reason I can't do a pull-up, I don't think I know the technique properly. I was watching you do your salmon ladders, and I see you basically raise your pelvic up to you, and then you throw your arms up. And I think for me, I'm just missing the technique and being taught how to do it properly. And I think that goes a long way with a lot of things.
Yeah. Like I if I knew how to, I need to like show, because like when it comes to like showing things fitness wise, I need to like actually be there. I'm such a visual, because I can't really, it's hard to explain like over the phone and stuff.
Well, I think of it like Photoshop. I had Photoshop CS for a year or 2. I got a copy back on it 14 years ago. I tried to use it, couldn't figure it out. I was dating a girl at the time who was proficient with it. She showed me like the 3 core things of Photoshop, and now I'm very proficient with it. I think fitness is probably the same way when it comes to more of the advanced stuff. Is you can sit there and try to look at videos and figure it out, but if somebody's there with you and shows you how to do it, I think it'll probably snap in line and I'll advance greatly.
No, definitely though, definitely.
So before we wrap up here, I was watching one of your videos. I noticed everybody in the background was wearing face masks, so clearly you guys are still having regional ninja-based events in 2020. Do most of those happen in the summertime, or because it's so darn hot down here, does the majority of that kick off in the wintertime?
It just happens in various seasons. Like it mostly happens throughout the whole year. Like there's always competition going on throughout the whole year, like some kind of competition. But like I would say, like when it comes to the National Ninja League finals, I think that's in February, and also the UNA finals. The Ultimate Ninja League finals is in September, so it's spring and fall are the finals. Is what I would say. Like nothing is in the fall, but just mostly spring and fall are when the finals for like these competitions are at. Besides Ninja,
are most of those in Central Florida, or are they throughout the country? Do you travel outside of Florida?
Yeah, they're throughout the country where you have to travel to.
Where's the furthest you've traveled for one of these events?
The furthest I would say was Los Angeles. Yeah, for the National Ninja League in season 2.
Now, Los Angeles is, I lived in Long Beach for 3 years, so obviously that's relatively sea level. And obviously a majority of your training's done down here in Florida, but have you been to like an event in Georgia or a place with a higher sea level, and did you notice it affect your ability to perform at all?
Yes, there was one place that I noticed that affected I can't remember what I think it was Arizona. Like it was a hot state. I can't remember what it was, but it definitely, I remember it for the Ultimate Ninja League. It definitely affected me, but it doesn't affect me when I'm in North Carolina. But like, I'm just trying to think right now, like what it was called. Like it was, it was Arizona, New Mexico.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
New Mexico.
Hot
I think that's
and
where
high.
it was. Yeah. It was hot, and the elevation was just super like high up.
A little inside baseball. I don't know. I just noticed it this year. Is New Balance the unofficial sponsor for American Ninja Warrior? Because it seems like a lot of the new episodes, everybody's wearing black New Balance.
That's a good question. I don't know, but I definitely do know a lot of people wear that. One shoe that I've been wearing a lot more has been the Strike Movements, because I like those, and I like how it has like a basketball feel to it, them being high top. So that's why I like it. And then they also remind me of like these shoes that I used to have for basketball. So I've been definitely steering away from New Balance and going towards the Strike Movement shoes.
One of the videos, you look like you're almost wearing a pair of ASIC wrestling shoes.
Oh yes, I've also worn those too as well. Like those have been great for great grip.
Yeah, and I would imagine the soles are pretty pliable, especially because, obviously when it comes to running, it's all about footwear. And I would imagine, especially like I was watching your 100-foot rope climb, and the two things I was thinking about was, one, the footwear, and two, what was the wind like up on that thing?
It wasn't really windy at all. Like it was definitely nice and stuff. Like,
is that the tallest rope climb you've ever done?
Yes, it has been. I think the fastest one my fastest time I think was in 2019 when I got up to there in like 1:17.
Wow.
But yeah, that was my fastest time of doing it.
Now, obviously, when you're climbing up, you're not really paying attention to what's below you. But I used to do some wall climbing back in the day, back in the 90s, and some outdoor rock climbing. And every once in a while, you get up above 60, 70 feet, and you look down, and it's like, oh, okay, that's right. I'm a lot higher than I thought I was. Did you have that once you got to the top of that?
No, I mean, because I had a harness, I had faith that I had trust that it was going to be okay. Now, if I didn't have a harness, like I probably would be definitely having more of a death grip.
Sure.
Towards the rope and stuff.
Well, I appreciate all your time and everything you coming on the show. Is there anything you want to share with our audience before you go?
To just always be a light and to like never give up on the gifts that you have, and just to always use it to be a light to others and to serve others and to just love others.
His name's Jordan Flash Brown. You can see him all around Southwest Florida on regional ninja-based stuff, and if you go on YouTube, you can find him on some past episodes of American Ninja Warrior. Jordan, where can people find you on your Instagram and throughout the social media realm?
Oh, my Instagram would be FlashJordan3.
And anywhere else you want to send people to?
For my photography, it's flashlight.creative. Yeah.
So definitely check that out. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out with another episode of the Fail to Fail podcast. This episode of the Fail to Fail podcast, as well as all the podcasts on the Digital 410 Network, is brought to you by our friends at Computers. Computers has been providing IT solutions for all of Southwest Florida since 2004. So if you need any computer repair, desktop repair, laptop repair, give them a call at 239-283-1120. And even if you don't live in the Southwest Florida area, they can help you remotely through their website. So as long as you have internet, they can help you. Give them a call at 239-283-1120 or go to act-capecoral.com. And right now, especially with COVID, people working at home, it's no more important. It's never been more important than getting two-form authentication, so secure that network for remote login and online backups, as well as antivirus. They can help you out with all that information. And as always, head over to failtofail.com or d-410.com. Click on that Patreon link. Sign up for Patreon. It's $1 a month. It helps out the show. It helps out our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so, head over to youtube.com. Look for the Digital 410 Network, and you'll see my upcoming Savage race here shortly. Jordan Flash Brown, thank you so much for joining us. And remember,
you're welcome, Don. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And remember, if you never get out of your comfort zone, you'll never get out of bed. So get up, challenge yourself, and be a good pillar to your community. And we will talk to you all shortly.
This has been a Digital 410 production.